I went around that lake, and then I went Travis, and there's 7 Highland Lakes, and I hit all of them and eventually worked my way up to Lake Austin. How I built my brand, as far as the values within the brand, I think that being a realtor can have a stigma of people out to just get money and, make a quick sale and turn something that could be a relationship into just a monetary value. And I didn't like that. Number one, I didn't like that. Number two, it's not good in the luxury space. And my father always told me, don't chase money, chase success. Money's just a byproduct of success.
Austin Community Capital. This show is a celebration of the spirit of Austin, Texas, honoring our past, engaging our present, and building our future together. Although it's not the last time.
Kody, it's great to have you today. I'm really excited about our conversation. I initially came across you because we're both in the real estate world here in Austin, and I noticed you're a wake surfer, which is, true to my heart as well. So really excited to chat today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You are a rare native Austinite, and I'd love to hear, what did upbringing in Austin look like? What did your childhood look like? It was a picture of a family.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up outside of Austin, a little town called Burnett, which is getting much bigger now. But my dad was a coach and my mom was a teacher. So, summers we spent out at the lake doing all that sort of stuff. Small town feeling, but we would travel to Big Cedar Park for groceries or go 1431, go to Lago and stuff like that. So did a little bit of experience in Austin, but as my business grew, I kind of came to the Austin area just because that's where all the people are moving.
Okay, right on. So dad's a coach, mom teacher?
Yes, mom's a teacher.
Picture of both of them and talk about the role they've played in your life.
Yeah, so it was great. People always ask me, how was it having your dad as a coach? I bet it was horrible, but I loved it. We butt heads all the time, but it was great. He's a great motivator, and he was my coach for years, and so I loved it. He's now retired as of 2 years ago, and my mom is still teaching. She's a 4th grade GT teacher, so she loves it. So I have a huge appreciation for teachers and people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, teachers and coaches for young people, it's so formative. Outside of your parents, those are the people investing in you. And if you have great ones, which I imagine your parents are, it's so shaping in your life.
For sure. And, all my friends were in sports, so he was also their coach. And something that was really key was he did a good job of kind of keeping sports separate from friends. When they'd come over on the weekend, it wasn't like he was, they called him Coach Hall, but he wasn't, a coach at home. He's laid back, relaxed and all that. But on the football field, he was very intense for sure.
All right. What was home environment like growing up?
Home environment was great. I have a younger sister. Her name is Madison. She actually lives in Japan. She's doing ministry work in Japan with her husband. But she was off doing sports. I was doing sports. Mom's teaching at one school, dad's coaching. But it was great. We always made sure to have dinner together when everybody got home. So that was good.
Yeah. Family traditions like that and just consistency. So powerful for, young kids.
Absolutely.
So take us through your journey. And you mentioned sports. What were you playing and what did your trajectory kind of post growing up look like? Where did you head?
Right. So I played football at Burnett. And then after that, I did not get a big scholarship offer that I wanted. So I ended up going to junior college, Blinn Junior College in Brenham, Texas, which is another little small town and a football team. And played football there and then started getting the looks that I wanted to get. And because I was what's called a qualifier, I had the grades where I could leave any semester. So I was about to leave and then I tore my Achilles, which was, that was tough. So I was out for 9 months to a year. And that was really difficult. I was in a cast for 3 months. I was in a boot for 2 after that. So that kind of set back my football career. But it was something that I'd committed to doing. So I was talking to a couple schools once I got healed and the opportunity came at LSU. It was actually between LSU and Tech at the time. And, LSU was just the bigger dog in the hunt at the time. Tech's pretty good now. But, so I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go to LSU. Rehab, get back, and ended up having a decent little career at LSU. Got some playing time, and it was a blast living in Louisiana.
This show is supported by Loyal Home Concierge. You can take a company public, but you just found a scorpion in the guest room. Welcome to Austin. We'll handle it. LoyalHomeConcierge.com.
Man, so that I would have thought that injury would put you out, but you were able to get back up and running.
Yeah, I was. It was tough, and it was a long recovery. So, and that was really the first big injury that I'd had. I'd never been injury prone, but had to come back from that. So there was a lot of character building that went into that I've, carried, until today.
Yeah, say more on that, because I got to imagine like being a football player at that level, like that is demoralizing and like crushing, and you're probably out for a while. Like, what were you thinking and feeling at the time? What was that character development you referenced?
Yeah, and I go back and forth. I don't know if people are born with it or, the desire to keep going, but I just felt like I'd set my mind to do something. That was the whole reason I went to junior college, as a stepping stone to get to the next level. And so I made my mind up that I was going to rehab, get recovered, and give it a shot. And I think they gave me a 50% chance that it would tear again. And if it tore again, it tore, but it didn't, luckily, knock on wood, but it didn't, and it worked out. But yeah, it was very challenging, and I try to implement that now, and not only my real estate career, but, life in general. You're going to have ups and downs, and it's how you handle those that really count.
Absolutely. And just the power of mindset and outlook, which just sounds like you had a really healthy one that took you through. I appreciate that.
For sure. And it wasn't always, rosy, thinking on the positive. There were some downs, and, that's when you're calling family and calling friends and getting some counsel from them. But at the end of the day, push through it for sure.
Yeah, you're calling home and getting coach on the line.
Yep, exactly.
What to say.
Exactly. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you made it in the big school at LSU. What did future look like? And I'm excited to kind of paint the picture of how you landed back in Austin and in the real estate world.
Yeah, so it was interesting. My dad was coaching in Burnett, and then when I'd graduated, he took a job down in Houston at a high school called Manville, and he was the defensive coordinator there, and then ended up being the head coach. And so when I graduated college, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. So, did what a lot of people do, move back home with the parents and enjoy that fun experience. So I'm living in Manville, Texas at the time. And my dad had always made comments about, I'm going to get my real estate license just for fun. And so I took it upon myself, and it was totally a backup because I was still, in love with football, and I wanted to do the whole coaching thing. And he kind of convinced me not to do high school. He was just, public education, that whole deal. And, we had struggled with money growing up a little bit. I was blessed, but, it's not like you're rolling in the dough if you're a high school coach. So he kind of steered me towards the college route, which is it's a very long process to work your way to the top. You have to start as a GA, go to school, also coaching part-time, get your master's and do all that. And there are limited spots available at these big schools. And so I got my real estate license totally as a backup. Never thought I was going to do it for sure. And I'm waiting for one of these GA jobs to come open. And I really wanted to go to Texas, to be honest with you. And so I actually got in the car and I took my resume to every Division I school in Texas, trying to be a GA, and fortunately, no one had openings. So there was a person that I went to high school with who got their real estate license and signed with a brokerage in Cedar Park, and she had found out that I had mine, and so they called me and they said, "We want you to come in for an interview." And I'm like, "Well, I'm bartending in Manville, Texas. I might as well, just go see what they have to say." And when I got there, they're like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." And so, boom, did it. And so that was how I initially kind of got in. Now, it wasn't an easy road after that. It was pretty challenging as well. But just another thing to push through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, opportunity knocked, and I appreciate that you responded. What was the initial experience in the real estate world like for you? What were you seeing? What were you noticing? What were you feeling being totally new to that space?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, I had no idea what was going on. So I got my license and signed with the brokerage. I believe it was 2019. Moved to Austin like that. I was living with a friend, and COVID hit. Completely shut down. the office. All the training was virtual. And I mean, got my license, signed with the brokerage. 2 weeks later, COVID, world's freaking out. So I'm going, I have absolutely no idea what to do. I don't know. You can't go out and meet people. You can't do this and that. So I think my first year in real estate, I sold one house for $152,000, and I took home $3,800. So that was my first year numbers in real estate. So when they say it's tough getting into business, I relate to that very much.
Man, that's so wild. And that, not too long before Austin's gangbuster time, which is so interesting. And like the real estate cycles is just a mind-bending conundrum.
You're in Aspen, or maybe Italy, and your phone pings with a freeze warning back in Austin. Panic? Nope. You have Loyal. We're already there, wrapping the pipes and checking the perimeter. Whether you're home or away, we are the eyes and ears of your estate. Global freedom, local support.
For sure. So yeah, after that first year, then the market starts really going crazy. And it's also, my first rodeo. So I'm thinking, this is great. This is real estate right here. And now, because that was the only perspective that I had at the time was, COVID and then the craziest market we've ever seen, especially in Central Texas. And so, then market goes down and it ebbs and flows and all that. So it was an interesting experience navigating that, especially being, my first time.
Golly, I can imagine. Well, I want to get a sense of your personal brand and the way that you operate. Paint folks a picture of that. I mean, you've had these incredible inputs, like thinking about your parents who represented such character and values and how they poured into their students and athletes. What does your brand look like?
Yeah, so I started Hall Realty Group 2-3 years ago, and I originally started on LBJ because that's where my mom during the summer, she would clean lake houses on LBJ, and I would also go out there with friends. And so I didn't know how to, what am I going to do? Door knock? That sounded a little odd to me and maybe inefficient. So I said, I'll just call every single person on the lake, starting with the house that my mom cleaned. So I ended up doing that, and I started on LBJ, and literally from that house went around the entire lake. I'm not a tech person, so I'm putting names and addresses in Excel. And so I went around that lake, and then I went Travis, and there's 7 Highland Lakes, and I hit all of them and eventually worked my way up to Lake Austin. So that was kind of how I built my brand. As far as the values within the brand, I think that being a realtor can have a stigma of, people out to just get money and, make a quick sale and turn something that could be a relationship into just a monetary value. And I didn't like that. And I mean, number one, I didn't like that. Number two, it's not good in the luxury space. And my father always told me, don't chase money, chase success. Money's just a byproduct of success. So that's kind of how I built the brand, with that principle and really relying on relationships. Because when you're selling, $4, $5, $6 million house, someone has to trust you, and they're smart enough to tell if you're not genuine. And so you have to be genuine, and I want to be genuine, and I am genuine in that regard. And so that's kind of how I built the brand of selling luxury real estate.
And I want to come back to a couple of things you mentioned. One, as someone who's done a lot of sales, respect the hustle of making all those phone calls. I mean, what'd you say to folks when you hit them up, on a cold call?
It's interesting because I wish I would have the phone calls from when I first started to, if I cold call someone right now, because they would be very different, because it was just superficial at first. And then you start learning, more about the lake and more about the neighborhood and more about the house. And you've driven by and done all these things. So you can actually have a conversation about what you're talking about, not just picking up the phone and saying, hey, do you want to sell your house? Because who wants to get that call? I don't. And I'm in sales and I don't want to get that call. So there's a way that it kind of transformed and got better and was really genuine. And now, if I quote unquote cold call someone, I'm calling them because I have a buyer. That happens all the time. I know what the buyer wants, these luxury.
So that's like an off-market situation?
Yes. I love doing off-market, because, a luxury buyer that's spending multiple millions wants something specific. And when you're familiar with the lake and luxury properties, and you know what they want. And I mean, there's been times I've been driving by a house and I'm like, this really looks like it could work, or went by on a boat and I'll map it on my phone and I'm like, I'm going to call them on Monday and it's worked out, several times, where it's just a match made and we get the deal done off market. So I love those transactions.
Good to have the eye for what your clients are looking for and be able to spot that.
You wouldn't take a Ferrari to a quick lube. So why are you managing your estate with a magnet on the fridge? Your home is an asset. Treat it with dignity. Loyal Home Concierge provides white glove stewardship for Austin's most discerning homes. Proactive care. Absolute discretion your investment deserves.
For sure. And it, that develops over time because at first it's like, how many square feet do you want? Okay, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom and stuff like that. But that's just, surface level, and the luxury buyer wants something deeper and something they can value and something that they can enjoy because you're selling an experience, so that's kind of the name of the game in luxury real estate.
You mentioned something too, that your dad was encouraging you to not be chasing the money, but thinking about success. How do you define success?
That's interesting because I find at times it's hard to say that I'm quote unquote successful because there's no ceiling in real estate. It's like, when are you at the top? And I never really feel like I'm at the top because there's always more that you can do. One of my mentors early in real estate, we would talk on the phone often. He was just like, I'm like, are you busy? And he's like, there's always stuff you can do. And that's true. There's no, if you sold 10 houses in a year, well, you probably could have sold 11 if you would have done just a little bit more. So it's tough to gauge success. But I would define it as the relationships built with clients and making them happy, because that always feels good when whether they're buying or selling and they have a great experience and it's a win and everyone walks away happy. I love those transactions. That's the definition of success. And we're in the people business. So that's how I define it.
You referenced a mentor in there. What would have been some notable voices that have really shaped you, or things you've learned from older and wiser folks in your life?
Yeah, so his name was Corey, and he was at the original brokerage that I was at, and he was the new agent trainee. And I could ask someone questions all day long. I'm a big question guy. So I would just constantly ask questions and try to learn more and more and more. And he didn't get frustrated at the questions and, kind of held my hand through the process and through mistakes and learning lessons and all that. And we still talk to this day.
That's awesome. And really cool to keep people like that a part of your life. For sure.
Because I don't think everyone that is successful had someone help them along the way. Very few instances of people just doing it 100% by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot more power in a team. And do you have a team around you in your business?
Yes, I do have a team. I have an amazing assistant. Her name is Sarah. We've been working together for about a year now. Originally, I was going to hire to be my TC, and then some different things happened with the business for the better. And I was like, hey, would love to have you full time. And so we met probably 3 times, and she ended up doing it. And she's a huge, huge help because, building a team is about complementing what you're good at, what you're not good at. And, she's good at certain things and I'm not good at certain things. She's a wizard when it comes to the computer. She has to teach me how to join a Google Meet. Not actually that, but she compliments me very well, and she's a very hard worker and a huge, huge piece of the success.
That's awesome. Well, sounds like an incredible asset. So you're running and gunning, building your business. What do you do to recharge?
Watch college football on Saturday. All right. That's what I do to recharge right now. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy hanging out with family. My family moved from Houston back to Burnet. I actually sold them a house in Burnet. They were my craziest clients. And so hang out with family. I have a bunch of friends in the area. So that's kind of what I spend, when I'm not working and being on the lake. But it's funny because we'll be on a boat just relaxing, and I'm like, so-and-so owns that house, and they're like, Kody, get out of work mode. And I'm like, you're right.
How are the Tigers looking this year?
Not very good. We're struggling right now. We're struggling. And, being in Austin, LSU and Texas, very similar teams, great defense, struggling on the offensive side. So it's tough.
Well, hopefully the tides will turn. So if you think about, you've grown up in this area, you've seen a lot of examples of life lived well in Austin. Thinking about your own life down the road, what does a life lived well look like?
A life lived well would be married, kids, enjoying good people around you, good friends, and just experiences with people, because that's life. That's what it is. I would love to, have a big gathering on the lake and have all family and friends come, and it's stuff like that I enjoy and that makes me happy. So yeah.
I appreciate that. We share a lot of alignment that and just the joy of hosting and bringing people together, a huge passion of mine as well. So I can really appreciate that. Well, as we come to a close, anything you want to leave folks with, maybe ways to find you and connect with you? Yeah,
they can tune in to my website. It's kodyhall.com, and check out, our current listings, private listings, things that are off market, and look at the team and all that.
Okay. Right on. Well, thank you so much, Kody. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Austin Community Capital. This show is a celebration of the spirit of Austin, Texas, honoring our past, engaging our present, and building our future together. If this conversation sparked something in you, a new idea, a feeling of connection, or just a good laugh, pass it on. Share this episode with a fellow Austinite or a loved one who needs to hear it. Let's keep weaving this fabric of community together. This show is proudly presented by Loyal Home Concierge. At Loyal, we believe that a healthy, thriving city starts within the four walls of your home. We are passionate about supporting overextended executives, the moms and dads who do it all, and the couples who take life by storm. Because we know that when your home life is supported, you are free to support the ones who matter most.
Your kids, your wife.
Whether you need a proactive manager for your home or a creative problem solver for your next big adventure, we are here to help you design a life of intention. LoyalHomeConcierge.com. Let's make life a little more beautiful together. Stay loyal to your community, and we'll see you next time.